In our last video, we got to the stage where we're saving our tasks in the array in the component state, but we weren't displaying it. So now let's create a method for displaying these tasks. Let's go into our app.tsx in our text editor, and let's create a section in our render method that renders the tasks. So we're going to have a function inside, a method inside this HTML object called render tasks. And let's write this method. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to return what's in our state, so the task stuff in our state, this.state.tasks, and we're going to use a JavaScript map object on the array. And what we're going to do is we're going to use ES6 arrow function, and we'll get the task, so that'll be the string, and we'll also get the index, so the position of the string in the array, which will be a number. And what we're going to do is we're going to render some HTML or JSX, and it will be a div. Sorry, not render, return, and not a div. And the div will need to have a key. So each time you use a map in React, you have to have a key. So luckily we have the index at hand to do this thing. And then we're going to render the task, which should be a string. Cool. Let's check if we get any errors in our terminal. We don't. Let's go into our browser and let's type something into our to-do list. Test, kind of funny. Cool, so that works as expected. Now, let's do a few cleanup things inside our code. I've talked a lot about Typescript, but we haven't actually used any proper types. We've been calling things any. We haven't differentiated between our private and public methods. So let's do that now. A good rule of thumb to have is that if a method is going to be in the HTML or display HTML, it's a public function. If it isn't, it's private. So this is a public. This is optional, by the way. You don't have to call it public. As you can see, the code still works without all of this stuff. It's just useful to use since we're using TypeScript. So this is a public. This is also public because it renders HTML to the code. And this is also public because it's a method in the HTML. We don't usually add public or private functions to a constructor function. We leave it as is. So let's leave that. And also let's tell TypeScript what these methods are going to return. So this handle submit doesn't return anything. So it's a void. This render tasks returns a bunch of JSX elements. So we'll tell it that it's returning that, an array of JSX elements. And this also renders a JSX element, but not an array, just a single element. Awesome. One more thing to do is to change this from an any to what it actually is. Now, for me to discover this, it was a bit of trial and error. It's difficult to find documentation of what the types are. So I'm going to type in what it is and more or less tell you how I found out what it is. So this is actually a React.form event with HTML form element. So this tells TypeScript exactly what's inside this E. And let's see if the terminal gives us any errors. No, it doesn't. And the way I found this one out was a bit of trial and error. I basically typed in form element, like so. Saved it, went to the terminal, and it told me it requires one value type. Did a bunch of research on the internet and found that was actually a HTML form element. But if you didn't know this, the TypeScript typings you installed in the previous videos is good at telling you. So if I made it this and saved it, the terminal will tell me that's incorrect. And if I did something like without the L, it'll tell me also it's incorrect. So it is a bunch of trial and error, but it's better to let TypeScript know exactly what to expect, so that if something changes, it can give you an error on it. So, for example, if basically I change this here to tasks, it will say, hang on a minute, in your interface you called it task, so therefore tasks does not exist. So you can check and go, oh, that's correct. I've made a mistake, so you can put it back to task and it will work. This is also helpful for if you're working in teams and other people are touching your code and you've made a mistake, or they've made a mistake. It's easy to see where they've gone wrong. Cool. So to-do list is looking pretty basic so far. You can add things, but you can't remove things. You can't class things as done and put them as undone. That'll be something that we'll look at in the next video. So as usual, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're enjoying this, I'll see you in the next video.